The college baseball experience on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is presented by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted parlays to same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET has what you need to win. Sign up today, bet $100, get $100 at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. Alrighty. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the College Baseball Experience. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, my name is Noah Bieniek, aka 77, and I'm joined here today by Matt Beard. Beard, how you doing today, my man? How was the first weekend for you?
Doing all right, man. It was well, as an LSU fan, everything went just as we would want, except for the little Tommy White scare, but things seemed to be okay. But pitching staff looked good, which is the big question from last year in defense. But other than that, everything was good. College baseball was fun. The midweek was wild once again.
It was. And that White injury, as fluky as it was, I had one of my best friends had the same exact injury in high school ball, sliding back into first on a pickoff. He was a hockey player too, so it dislocated in his shoulder, and he ended up having like 2 more shoulder surgeries after that too. So it's a lingering issue, and we'll see how it affects Tommy White going through the season. He's not going to be out long term from what it sounds like. He'll be back soon. So that's the good news there. But yeah, I mean, a lot of crazy, I mean, not really crazy upsets. We've just come to like get used to it with baseball, and especially in the midweek. But man, let's just jump into this week's games. This weekend we have an amazing tournament, the Round Rock Classic down there in Texas, and your boys, the LSU Tigers, are playing. It's one of the first games that we have on the betting slate as well. We grabbed some of the biggest games with tight odds. We don't want to talk about games with minus 250, minus 300 odds. We want to talk about a little bit more interesting games. But since it's the biggest tournament, we had to include it. LSU opens minus 230. This is going to be played at 3 p.m. Eastern time. They're playing Kansas State plus 185. On the bump for the Tigers is Paul Skeens. He's 1-0 on the year with 6 innings pitched, 12 strikeouts, only 1 walk with a 0 ERA. And pitching for the Wildcats is Owen Barema, who gave up 5 runs in 3 innings to Stephen F. Austin last weekend. With a much better offense than the Lumberjacks and Paul Skeens, who was dicing guys up last weekend, I'll see this as a parlay piece for later on in the show. Matt, how about you?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Straight up just with LSU is probably not going to be worth your while. You probably want to parlay that into something that might be a little more wild, which I think you and I kind of talked about earlier. We might have something, one of those teams that you can maybe slide in there and help improve those odds and maybe put a little more coin in your pocket.
Yeah. Then the other game in the Round Rock Classic is Iowa and Sam Houston State. Iowa opens as minus 125. Sam Houston State is minus 105. Tight one here. Bumping for the Hawkeyes is the preseason Big Ten Pitcher of the Year, Ty Langenberg, who has a 3.60 ERA after 1 start against Indiana State, going 5 innings, giving up 2 runs with 6 strikeouts and 2 walks. And for the Bearcats, Colton Atkinson will get the ball after a 5-inning, 2-run, 4 strikeout, 2-walk effort against Rhode Island in his first start. I'll give the edge to Iowa here with no real conviction, as it's just a big look-ahead spot to your LSU Tigers. Beard, how about you?
I feel the same way. When you look at it, the game, it doesn't, Iowa, Sam Houston State. It's like, are we playing basketball? Unfortunately, I don't want to diss college baseball. We love it, but you don't think Iowa and Sam Houston State. But it's fun to see these kind of matchups, and that's what's important about these tournaments is you might get some matchups that you might not even get in a tournament seeding because of locations. So it's fun to see this. So. Give me the edge in Iowa as well. So,
yep. Eat it up. And honestly, I have to ask you, is there going to be a 3-0 team this weekend in the Round Rock Classic?
I would think so. Obviously, I think LSU is probably the team to do that. I think even with not great pitching out of them, they could probably still accomplish that. The hitting is just stout. I mean, anybody loses Tommy White in the lineup, they're kind of freaking out.
Yeah.
You don't even think about it right now. So, well, I think
now you're getting that Trey Morgan recognition that you were begging for in the preseason.
my boy showed up for the cycle and he did it in succession: single, double, triple, home run. Man, I loved it. Loved every minute of it.
Yeah. So I think the only real pothole for the Tigers is Iowa. They have a two-sport wide receiver, right-handed pitcher, stud Brady Brecht, and he could catch y'all. I mean, granted, he pitched against Quinnipiac, but this kid downright dominated in his first start. In general, I think he had 10 strikeouts in 6 innings, and he didn't have a single walk. I think the Hawkeyes have the best pitching staff in the conference in the Big Ten, and down in Round Rock, it might be a jumbled mess. If Iowa gets that upset there, you could see 3-2-1 teams, 2-2-1 teams, 1-0-3 team. But yeah, I'm probably going to go with LSU sweeping through this tournament here. The next game on our docket is at 4:00 Eastern, plus 135. UCF at Clemson, minus 165. UCF will trot out Rudy Gomez, who tossed 5.2 with 7 punchies, 1 free pass, and 4 earned versus Siena during the opening weekend. While Clemson will pitch Ryan Ammons, who threw 5 innings, only gave up 3 hits, had 9 strikeouts with only 1 earned. Look, this is a step up in competition for both teams here compared to their opening weekend series. But Clemson impressed me with a couple of big rallies against a good Charlotte team in the midweek. A tough spot, too. Shout out to my guy, Erik Bakich, former Michigan coach, going down to Clemson. Broke my heart that he left, but I hope he gets Clemson baseball rolling again. Give me the Tigers here in this spot, but I'm not willing to lay the juice. Beard, how about you?
Clemson as well. I think this, you look at this, 345 batting average by Clemson, 312 by UCF. So both can hit the ball so far in the early going. Clemson, slight edge on the mound at, a 2.5 ERA with Central Florida at 4.76. So Central Florida's going to have to really slow down Clemson if they want to win this series. Unfortunately, I don't think they do because it's still early in the season. Good pitching beats good hitting every day of the week.
Yeah, we were talking about this next one in the pre-pod, one of our favorite spots of this nice Friday slate at 4:00 Eastern. Wright State enters at plus 140 at Kentucky, who's minus 175 opening here. The Wildcats aim to avoid losing back-to-back Friday nights with Logan Martin on the mound. He pitched 5 innings against Elon, giving up 2 runs on 6 hits with 6 strikeouts and 1 walk. And Jake Skirk shoved 6 scoreless frames with 6 chairs, 1 walk, and 2 hits at Hawaii in their opening weekend game. I think the Raiders, they're a feisty bunch versus a high major, and they dominate the Horizon League each year. Back in the day, once upon a time, these guys were recruiting me in my golden days. But on a Friday night, I think they're a live dog here. Add it to my card, plus 140 on the money line here for the Raiders. How about you, Beard?
Yeah, this is the one that we teased earlier about matching up with LSU to kind of improve those odds for you. I looked at this series, and Wright State's coming in this game 1-3, but the big thing is they've been in the postseason recently. It took a walk-off TikTok bomb by Tennessee to put them out. But Kentucky is, and they'll be looking for a new head coach at the end of the season more than likely. I think he's well on his way out. It's been kind of a downhill progression ever since he had that real high peak to start. 1 home run on the season for Kentucky. 1.
Bats are quiet so far.
Against Elon and Evansville. Okay, you got 15 runs scored all season in 4 games. That's not going to get done. You do have a sub-2 ERA, but once again, Elon and Evansville. There's a lot of new faces. They added from the transfer portal, so you're trying to figure out your mix of your team. Give me Wright State in the series.
Absolutely love it. I might be playing them every game here because the Raiders' offense is legit. And you're talking about how the Wildcats have been struggling to put up runs so far this season. Wright State has not. They've scored double digits, I think, in 2 of their 4 games so far this year. So, yeah, love the Raiders in that spot. And there's a couple of these on the slate today, a couple of bad weather spots. So make sure you keep an eye on these, especially when the totals come out. Might be, maybe the books don't see some of the winter advisory stuff on the West Coast. This game will be played at 1:00. It was moved up due to the expected winter storm. Plus 125 Washington State against UC Irvine minus 155. This is in the Tony Gwynn Invitational at San Diego State. We don't have confirmed starting pitchers for this game, probably because of, the whole weather situation. But going back to the previous weekend, I think the Cougars will chuck Dakota Hawkins, who racked up 10 strikeouts, only 2 hits, no runs against Villanova last weekend. And I'm pretty sure the Anteaters will go with Daniel Vizcaino, who has never lost a start in his career so far, with 2 dogs on the mound and arms that we trust in cold conditions. This one, we don't have the line currently. We don't have the total, but this one screams under to me if it's at 9.5 or higher. So wherever that line drops tomorrow, that's where you'll probably find me. As for a winner of this game, give me the Anteaters. How about you, Beard?
This is where we don't agree, actually. This is an intriguing matchup. When I was looking at this, both teams 4-0 coming into this game. Washington State kind of has the edge in the batting average at 331. UC Irvine at 236, but both squads can throw it. 49 strikeouts for Washington State, 48 for UC Irvine, 13 walks for the Anteaters, 19 for the Cougars. So, runs are going to be at a premium, and then you have weather on top of it. I mean, wouldn't it be awesome to turn on the TV on Sunday and you're like, UC Irvine and Washington State have scored 4 runs in 2023? What's going on here? So, but I actually think Washington State, I give them a slight advantage because of the batting average. I think they've gotten the bats earlier going than UC Irvine. So give me Washington State.
Yeah, for sure. And it's one of those things that I always like to back early on in the season too with the Northern Ball teams. All they've been doing and being able to do is hitting the cage inside. They're not able to go out and field on their icy turf. So,
man, I can remember, playing, and those guys would come down and new guys, freshmen would come in and be like, what, these guys have been pin up all winter. And I was like, yeah, dude, be ready, because they are ready to swing a bat against them. Yes.
Bats are live, gloves are a little bit stony, but
bats are live and they don't look cold at all.
No, not at all, because they're used to it, if
That's
anything.
Right.
Maybe the game of the day. Little bit of an in-state rivalry here. 5:00. Minus 115, North Carolina ranked 12th in the country at number 11, East Carolina, who's also minus 115. Basically a pick 'em when you get it in college baseball. They won't give you a legit pick 'em. But North Carolina's so-called ace, Max Carlson, got blitzed for 4 runs and 4.1 against Seton Hall last weekend. And Trey Savage, what a last name there for the Pirates. He's going to start here this Friday. Last Friday, he had 7 strikeouts in 5 innings, only surrendering 1 run. I think this is a big spot where the jungle gets up for, an in-state rival. Big matchup here. Ranked versus ranked, top 15 teams. I'll take ECU on the money line in this game. It's tight. I don't know if I'm going to end up having money on it. This is where, if you follow me on Twitter at 77NB, I'll tweet out any extra plays that are not on this podcast, especially for the totals and stuff. You might find a Pirate money line here from me, but Beard, where are you going with this matchup?
Man, another one that we disagree on. I'm with UNC. East Carolina, they've had some hiccups early on. It was, everybody wanted to call it an upset. It was no upset to us. Campbell coming in and beating them, but at the same time, this is a team that a lot of people want to be in Omaha. This is a team that a lot of people expect to possibly make it to Omaha.
Yeah.
These are games that you have to win early, and if you can't beat Campbell early on, and then you're going to go try and beat North Carolina, especially when you're not really, you're allowing more runs than you really should, especially early on. 4.46 ERA. Pitching is supposed to kind of be ahead of hitting early on in the season, and they're not. North Carolina seems to kind of have that with strikeouts and lowering the amount of walks. So give me North Carolina.
As we reach the middle of this headlining slate here, I want to tell you about our presenting sponsor, WynnBET, who's the official online sportsbook of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. WynnBET is active in a bunch of states, and there are tons of ways to win, including live betting and same-game parlays, aka WynnBET's Build Your Own Bet. Great promos, odds, and payouts are happening right now at WynnBET. Ready to play? Sign up today to receive a special offer. Bet $100, get $100, limited to state availability. And of course, if you hit the biggest long shot parlay of the week, you get a $1,000 free credit. There's so much to choose from, and all you have to do is head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET so they know we sent you. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. Also, let me tell you about the SGPN merch store. Yes, that continues to add new items every day to the store. Head over to store.sportsgamblingpodcast.com to get your favorite shirts, hats, sweats, and hoodies. There's a brand new item out there for our first half unders that we have hammered for the last 7 years, basically, with the Sports Gambling Podcast. It's honestly one of the most automatic bets you could ever have in such a public game in general. Why not rock it on your chest to the first half unders, aka the half inning? 2 weeks away, baby, from March Madness, and just ATM printing money with those plays. Back at it with the college baseball, though. 5:30 Eastern. UCLA goes into Nashville as plus 115 underdogs against Vanderbilt minus 145. Jake Brooks will start on Friday for the Bruins. He threw 5 innings, had 8 punchies, 1 walk, 1 earned run in his last time out against Omaha. And Carter Holton will go for the Commodores. Holton faced TCU in the college baseball showdown. He only got through 3.2 innings, and he was tagged for only 2 runs, but the pitch count went up high, and they pulled him in his first start. Going from Omaha to Vanderbilt is a big step up in competition for UCLA, and I think Holton should go deeper into this game. It's not like he had that bad of a game the first time out. They were just working his pitch count. I like the Vandy boys to win a low-scoring affair here on Friday night in Nashville. Beard, how about you?
We have started to diverge here.
There we go.
Quite a bit. I'm going UCLA. I mean, surprise, surprise, UCLA can pitch again. You know, water's wet, which is funny because that's supposed to be the thing that Vandy does, and they're not doing it this year.
Yep.
They're really struggling. The biggest thing I see is they're not getting deep into games. Their starters, 5 innings is the most. Now, granted, 4 games, I get that, and it's early, and you're not going to wear guys out. But Corbin's never been a guy who would pull a guy early. So
yeah,
there really is some issues. You know, you got high ERA. Now, granted, you played some better competition than UCLA has. I get that. But the biggest thing is they've lost so much offensively. And if Enrique Bradfield doesn't get rolling, it's over for them, really. Look at Central Arkansas. They kept him off base all 4 times. They win the game. However, his next stolen base will set the career record at Vanderbilt. So congratulations to him because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But
shout out Enrique. He's the thumbnail of the video too.
Yeah, and he's struggling this year. You know, 111 batting average. That guy's got to get rolling because he the cliche is sets the table. He leads them off. He sets the table. But give me UCLA.
I like the pick, and we'll touch on that in a little bit later. I like Vandy in game 1, but I might be with you on UCLA throughout the series. 7:30 Eastern time. This one's another great series. Flying under the radar there with Florida State traveling to TCU. The Seminoles are minus 105. The Horned Frogs minus 125. Bumping for the Noles is Jackson Baumeister, who he only gave up 2 hits in 4 innings to James Madison in his first start. And TCU is going to go with Ryan Vanderhey, who tossed 5 innings against Vanderbilt, giving up 3 runs. He only had 3 strikeouts and gave up 2 total hits. We saw it last weekend against quality competition. TCU does not have that kind of high-end starting pitching to lean on. They have to win some of these blitzkrieg fests where it's going to be high scoring for most of the year, I think. It's going to nerve me throughout some of these series that they play. I think this will be the shortest price that you do see TCU on the weekend against Florida State here at home. So going up against the Noles ace, if you want to lay the minus 125, because I think it's going to be the shortest price you see this weekend, go ahead. But I'll take the minus 105 on Florida State. It's really just a coin flip game for me. I think Baumeister might go out there and deal one up for the Noles to stay in this one. Otherwise, if he doesn't, TCU might run away with it. Beard, how are you seeing this game play out?
I got TCU just because there's a little bit of battle tested already that they've experienced. They've got guys in there like Luke Savage who can come in and stop bleeding instantly. It's a team that last year that was probably a lot of headaches for guys, especially us. We'd pick them in our series, and then they would go 0-3, and then we wouldn't even have them, and they go 3-0. And it was like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. South Carolina the same way last year, but TCU, I think, had to experience that to be able to do what they're doing right now, fighting back, finding ways to win. They had to lose last year to figure out how to do it to win this year. So give me TCU not only in game one, but in the series.
All right. We'll talk about the series in a little bit, but he likes the Horned Frogs there. You plugged in South Carolina. How about the first weekend that they had? Again, UMass Lowell, but that offense was there, and it was loud too. That's something that's not normal for the Gamecocks over there in Columbia.
No, I think that's kind of the MO for the SEC this year as a whole, where it was kind of like one or two teams last year with LSU, Tennessee that kind of banged it around the yard. Now everybody's grown up a little bit. Guys were there. South Carolina, I think, had some growing pains that maybe their fans didn't want to experience, but maybe they're happy now. It's paying off, and if they can continue that, South Carolina could really threaten the East.
Yeah, there was a couple of guys hitting backside bombs. It was quite impressive, and I feel somewhat comfortable, let's say, having futures on them right now. We'll see how they play out. There's still a ton of season left, but another game on the West Coast that's being affected by inclement weather. It actually flipped the host team for this one. UCSB was the original host. Now it's Oregon playing at 5:00 here. The Gauchos are minus 105 at Oregon, minus 125. The Gauchos, they have a strong weekend rotation almost every year. It's the question of depth after some of their top arms and their horses. But here on Friday night, Southpaw Mike Gutierrez is going to sling it. In his first start, he threw 5 innings, gave up only 2 runs with 8 strikeouts. And this is the interesting part here. I thought this was a little bit weird. Starting for Oregon is Jace Stoffel. The Ducks didn't throw him at all in the opening weekend series. They played 4 games against Xavier. He didn't get a single out in those 4 games. He made 8 starts last year and had a 5.59 ERA. It's really kind of a fade here for me. A kid on the mound for the first time this season, going up against another team's ace, and the team with their ace on the mound is a dog. That's almost like a pretty comfortable play for me. Somewhat system, some people like to call it. I'm going to lock this one up minus 105. I'm going to bet this one tomorrow. How about you, Beard?
Man, this whole series is weird. The fact that it's moved to Oregon, you just alluded to Oregon's pitcher. You look at it on paper, you're like, well, what is this? And then you look over on the other side and you look at, Santa Barbara's ERA and it's 5.77. Like, what's going on? You dive deep, like you talked about. They've had some guys that they've basically just tossed out there and got absolutely fed to the Sharks, man. I actually kind of want the whole fact that it's moved complete areas leans me towards Oregon because, they're the least inconvenienced by this whole situation. They get to stay home where they're at. Santa Barbara's got to change their whole situation. So give me Oregon on tomorrow night.
Yeah, they had a pretty comfortable 4-game sweep against the Musketeers in weekend 1. We'll see. Short notice. I want to see how many of the Duck faithful show up for this weekend series. It's a great West Coast series. Both these teams have been Oregon. They didn't quite. I don't think they got it in there last year. I think it might have been 2. Am I thinking correctly? 2 years ago, Oregon was in the tournament. Gauchos have been in there, I think, 2 years in a row. But yeah, I mean, this one's an intriguing series all the way through. I would have liked to have seen the mid-major host it just to see some of the wild atmospheres at some of the smaller schools. We saw it last weekend with Grand Canyon. Shout out to our Tennessee guys, but they brought out the damn band before the game. That should have been a bet for me automatically.
Basically, I mean, it was a home game. It was at their stadium, man.
Yeah.
So taking full advantage. Good for them.
Yeah, 100%. And then we had another one that was completely pushed back. So that was our highlighted or headlined games, some of the top games of the Friday slate. And then we're going to do this each week where 11.7, their podcast is doing, they teamed up with Circa, which we are very good friends with Circa, the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. So, you know, why not promote it? And we're going to, so basically they are doing 6 series a weekend, and their Pick'em challenge is you have to pick all 6. And they also have a Survivor challenge where you're just picking one, just like a Survivor pool for the NFL, and whoever lasts the longest wins. And then there's a big travel prize out to the Circa. Yeah, so it's really cool. Stadium swim. So there's a big travel prize there. So last week I went 5-1 in the Pick'em, and my Survivor hit, looking to duplicate the success. I think Colby went 4-2, and he also hit his Survivor. This week's series, they chose a couple of more tougher matchups, I will say. The first one is Florida State and TCU. Beard, you got to pick a team to win 2 of 3. Where are you going in this one? You kind of hinted it earlier, right?
Oh, it's Horned Frogs.
Yeah. I love the way that TCU played in Arlington. But like I mentioned in the one game handicap Friday, they don't really have that top tier starter. So for me, the pitching nerves me a little bit. They got to win some high scoring affairs. Link Jarrett's team started off 4-0. They're clicking on all cylinders throughout the first week against good competition. I think a lot of people will be on TCU. I think I'll probably be like within the 25% on the Seminoles here. So give me Florida State in that first series, kind of going against the grain, against the mold. Contrarian there. Series number 2, we also differed on this one for the Friday night game. It's North Carolina and East Carolina. Where are you going, Beard?
I'm going North Carolina. I think they're probably right there underneath Wake Forest for ACC supremacy. Their pitching staff might be just under Wake Forest. We'll see how they pan out, but give me North Carolina.
We're different again because I'm going to take the home team here, but there's a weird quirk in this series. They do it most every year where East Carolina is getting to host 2 of the home games, and North Carolina is hosting the other home game on Sunday. If I remember correctly, East Carolina got swept last year by North Carolina. I think this is a nice little revenge angle as they get to host the 2 home games first. I like the Pirates here to win the series. Series number 3 is Maryland and Ole Miss, and we talked about it pre-podcast. We didn't include it because Ole Miss was kind of a wild favorite. They are minus 240. But this one's kind of interesting on Friday night, being minus 230 now. So it is dropping. Yeah. I mean, they're without Hunter Elliott, who's suffering from forearm tightness right now. So the Terps at plus 185 seem kind of live on Friday night. But Beard, sort of talk about maybe how you want to attack that Friday night game. Do you buy into the Elliott injury and the Terps having a chance, or are you taking Ole Miss to win the series here comfortably?
So the Hunter Elliott news is terrible for Ole Miss. I don't necessarily think it is so much a factor this weekend. I mean, obviously you lose your Friday guy, you got to bump somebody else up. That throws maybe some wrenches into some guys' plans that they're not used to, but it doesn't so much for me because Maryland, I think is probably the best team in the Big Ten, but I don't think the Big Ten is very good. So this is going to be a benchmark for Maryland to really see where they're at. But give me Ole Miss because, they hit the transfer portal hard. They still got Jacob Gonzalez. They still got a good bullpen. They still got guys. It's still Ole Miss.
Yeah. Also, in our national preview, you were the only one of the four of us to have Maryland in Omaha. And me and Beeve called out Maryland, called them a little bit overrated. And it was a little Big Ten on Big Ten crime from me, but this is where I'm pulling from Maryland to get a couple of W's for that conference RPI to help us out a little bit. But low-key interesting game one, like we mentioned with the Hunter Elliott thing here. I think the Terps might be able to steal that game one, but I'm not sure they can win two in the series. Tough series to pick. Give me the Rebels here. Game 4, UCF at Clemson. Beard. This one was intriguing to me because UCF usually is a pitching powerhouse. Hasn't been off to the greatest start. How are you handling this one?
So I went back and forth a little bit just because of the same reasoning you're talking about. Clemson, being in the ACC, I think there's a little bit of that superiority for them. Clemson, man, because we talked about it earlier, and we were kind of going back and forth, and I think Central Florida could steal a game. The problem is I don't know what game, and that's important. Yeah. Because if you get a Friday night, there's a big change in how you maybe attack it and how you can go after it, and it puts pressure, especially on a team that probably should have beat you.
Yeah, 100%. And if you're chasing the Friday night and you're throwing some of your better arms from the bullpen, you maybe use them up for the weekend. So it's tough.
But give me Clemson.
Yeah, I'm on Clemson here too. I'm really clinging to the Tigers' impressive midweek win over Charlotte because UCF swept Siena. They're one of the worst programs in the country. And Binghamton didn't really offer much from Clemson's point of view either. So it's just in the midweek game, they were throwing, I think they threw like 7 pitchers. They showed that they have some type of bullpen depth there. And Bakich squad still has a lot to prove, but give me Clemson here. And I feel somewhat comfortable about this one compared to the first 3 that we took. Tough 6 series slate here in front of us. Game 5, a couple of repeats here that we've talked about for the Friday nights, but picking the full series. UCLA at Vanderbilt. Where are you at here in Nashville?
I'm high on UCLA. Vanderbilt, they're just not clicking right now. And that's probably due to Enrique Bradfield, like we talked about earlier. He kind of gets them going. He hasn't gotten going yet. 111 batting average. And when he's not rolling, they kind of don't really have an identity offensively. And the pitching staff is really struggling, which is kind of what Corbin has kind of hung his hat on at Vanderbilt. And they've written, they still got super high numbers, and they still got guys that throw 95, 96. It's just they're not getting anybody out. And give me UCLA for the series. Yeah. I could see a sweep. In this one.
All right. I'm not going to go. I picked Vandy game 1. Omaha didn't offer too much of a challenge to UCLA in the opening weekend, but I'm piggybacking off of you here a little bit with some of the middle relievers that Vanderbilt showed us down in Arlington weren't all too impressive. And oftentimes when the starter got pulled early, they were getting just the relievers coming in were getting pieced up. And some large, uneven innings by the opposing offense against the Commodores. I'm always going to be a little bit hesitant on the road team coming into SEC environment, but when you're talking about an SEC environment, this is probably one of the weaker ones, right? And yeah, I think UCLA might be able to win game 2 and game 3. I like Holton on the mound in game 1. It's a little bit of a bounce back start for him after he struggled his first start. But UCLA, I think, can win game 2 and game 3. This one, I think, is the most interesting one here. Another just team that hasn't wowed us out of the gates, in Mississippi State. They're hosting Arizona State. What's the pick in this one for you?
Well, since they finally put the fire out in Starkville after they had set it ablaze, because they set it ablaze and then they put it out, and then they set it ablaze and then they put it out. Kind of like Arkansas right now. Everybody's free. It's just this uphill thing. Man, Mississippi State is just – they're kind of all over the place. They score a lot of runs and they give up a lot of runs.
Yeah.
It's wild. But the big thing, the big glaring thing to me is 12 errors. 12 errors on the season, and you're 4-0. That's 3 errors a game. That's not going to get it done, and it's not going to get it done against Arizona State, who is pitching well and they're hitting well. So give me Arizona State.
Yeah, and they've played good competition so far this year too. So Arizona State's the pick for me as well. Also, like you mentioned, the Bulldogs pitching staff and defense, they need to show me something before I actually put some money on them. So that's where I'm at for this one. And now we have to do the survivor pick, the one that you're ready to lock in that's not going to lose this weekend, Beard.
I'm rolling with them because I called for a sweep. Give me UCLA over Vandy.
There you go. Bold. I like it. I'm going Clemson. I'm going with the home team, a team that showed me something in the midweek compared to UCF, who got blown out against Florida Atlantic 13-3, and they swept Siena, which really I don't know what you're made of when you sweep one of the worst programs in the college baseball scene. So, yeah.
You're just doing what you're supposed to, man. You can't get mad at them for that.
No, you can't, but it's just like I don't know what they're made of yet. So
that's true.
I know what my guy Bakich can bring. I'm tailing him here in week 2 of this challenge. We were talking about it pre-pod that we wanted to throw in maybe a couple of fun larger bets, like a parlay at the end of the show. Do you have one that you want to share with the people first?
Yeah, I mean, I liked the LSU with Wright State parlay. I mean, you're taking a chance with Wright State, obviously, against Kentucky because it being an SEC team. I mean, Kentucky beat Tennessee last year in a series.
Yeah.
So there's that possibility, but you have to match it up with something. You have to go a little crazy if you're going to match it up with something that should be a dead, surefire thing. So I would stick with the parlay of just a 2-game LSU and Wright State because early on in the season, wild things can happen. Don't get too many legs in a parlay, otherwise you might be heartbroken early.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I'm not going to get that crazy myself. I'm going to give out a plus money play, but they're both minus 230 legs. I have LSU and I have Southern Miss with Tanner Hall on the bump against Illinois. I love both those spots.
Tanner Hall, that's all you got to say.
And it's plus 105. So give me that parlay to end it for me. So what are you most looking forward to this weekend? Is there something that's standing out to you personally, whether it's your LSU team or you talked about how you're going to a Volunteers game this weekend?
Tomorrow night going to go see Tennessee. Well, I say tomorrow night, it's 4:30 start, which, by the way, have you noticed the game times around the country, not to mention the start times, but how quickly they're going?
More people, I think, are being loud about the delays for me to realize that the games are going quicker, if that makes any sense to you.
Well, they're pushing all the players to be faster, and then the instant replay takes 10 minutes.
Yeah, you're one of the biggest ones on Twitter clamoring about that.
I can't stand this. But going to a Tennessee game tomorrow night, going to see Dolander go up against Dayton. I fully expect him to kind of right the ship. I don't put any stock into Tennessee going 1-2 in the desert at basically those teams' home stadium. That really means nothing. I think Dolander pitched well. They're just a different team offensively, and I think they're trying to find that identity. So it's going to be fun to kind of see tomorrow night how they kind of respond with a true Friday night and how Dolander comes back.
Yeah, love it. I mean, for me, biggest thing is my guys. The Michigan is traveling out west against Pepperdine, they're playing Fullerton, and yep. Fullerton looked pretty damn good against Stanford, and yes, they also handled their business against Tulane there. with O'Halloran on the mound on Friday, or technically Saturday because they moved it back a day. I like our chances
a Monday game too.
Yeah, it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday that they moved it back because of the weather. But we have O'Halloran who can win us a game. Our offense is electric. Like, we're gonna put up 6-7 runs a game most of the time here, and just our bullpen's terrible. Like,
the world so far.
Yeah, we have. And dude, we lost to – I don't get the team already. I think I talked to you guys on Slack. It's like we lose to Michigan State and we lose to another terrible UC San Diego, and then we beat Grand Canyon, who is my mid-major darling. And it's like, dude, what in the world? Like, you already kind of ruined your resume for the season with those two bad losses, and then you're going to go out and ruin my darling's resume as well. So, just I'm interested to see where Tracy Smith takes this team. Hopefully it's not in the cellar of the Big Ten. I'm just hoping for a little bit of competitiveness. That way I can maybe go see some good ball games when they host Oklahoma State in April for me. I will be posting more plays for Friday, and then also every morning I've been posting bets Friday, Saturday, Sunday, even throughout the midweek on in the morning, just posting 2 to 4 bets that I have each day. Up units, I'm sorry, I didn't tally what I had for the week, but we're doing well so far. A lot of people DMing me too, so that's always nice interacting with you guys. I'm always open for it. Beard, anything from you to close out the show?
Man, the season's early. Midweek's already fun. Games are going a little bit faster, which I don't hate, especially on the midweek. Yeah. LSU looks good. I can't be mad about that. I'm ready to go see some college baseball tomorrow night. Unfortunately, I think a rain's going to maybe play a factor more for the fans than it does at Tennessee, since the fake turf, which I dislike, by the way. But this season has an opportunity to really be wild. I think, especially in the SEC. I know that's easy to say, but there are some real dudes on some real teams that can make some big differences. That we could see 5 teams in Omaha.
That's so with the way it's formatted, it's tough to see 5.
It is.
But I mean, we saw 4 last year, so I'm not putting it out of the reach. So shout out Spittin' Seeds 24/7 on Twitter. Also, all of our Twitter handles are down below on the ticker. That's a nice polo that you have on right now.
Yeah, man, it's one of our shirts that we got. We have.
Yeah, plug the store. Where can people get that?
Oh man, I'd have to talk to Beef about that. He's the one who set that up. You caught me off guard on that one. I don't even know. Shit. I don't even remember where I got this one from. It's been so long. But yeah, we've got some stuff. I'd have to pull it up. I don't have it on me at the moment.
Awesome logo. So check out the college football experience, college basketball experience, also sports gambling podcast, the one that founded everything and allows us to do the shit that we do, talk college baseball. And there's plenty of other stuff besides just college sports on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. We're talking NASCAR last week with Daytona. They do it year round. There's also a golf gambling podcast. Plenty of stuff. Beard was diving in a couple of weeks ago. He's like, dude, you guys go hard with some of this shit. But yeah, I mean, thank you all for tuning in and living the better experience, the college baseball experience. I'll talk to you all again soon. Take care.
Have a good one.